You've been carrying the weight of strength like it's your only identity, smiling when your heart is breaking, showing up when your soul is exhausted, telling everybody you're fine when deep down you're barely making it through the day. But today, right here, right now, I came to tell you, you don't have to pretend to be okay anymore. See, somewhere along the way, you believed that your value was tied to your ability to hold it all together. That being strong meant never being weak. That healing was for later, but surviving was for now. But baby, surviving isn't the same as living. And God didn't create you to fake joy while silently drowning in pain. You were never meant to wear a mask that suffocates your soul just to make other people comfortable. I know what it's like to cry in secret, to feel like if one more thing falls apart, you will too. But I also know what it's like to lay that burden down, to stop performing, to stop pretending, to look in the mirror and finally whisper the truth to yourself. I'm not okay, but I want to be. And that's where the healing begins. So today, I dare you to be real, to be raw, to be broken and brave, because your breakthrough isn't found in pretending. It's found in your permission to feel. Your honesty is your healing. Your surrender is your strength. Let's talk about it. Let's go there. Let's set you free. We live in a world that rewards the image of having it all together. From the moment we wake up, we're taught to put on a brave face, to show up polished and composed, no matter what's going on beneath the surface. But what happens when that surface starts to crack? When the smile no longer covers the ache, when the hustle no longer hides the heaviness, we tell ourselves we can't afford to break down because breaking down feels like failure. But in reality, it's not the breaking that makes us weak. It's the pretending. Pretending to be okay when you're not is exhausting. It drains the soul. It steals your breath. It makes you feel like you're living in two versions of yourself. The one the world sees and the one you can't even bear to look at in the mirror. You wake up every morning and put the armor on, convincing everyone around you that you're fine, that you're strong, that you're built for this. But strength isn't found in the armor. It's found in the moments when you let it go. Real strength begins where the mask falls off. It begins in the moment you say, I'm not okay. That sentence, as simple as it sounds, is the crack in the wall where the light gets in. It's the moment when healing can finally start to move. Because as long as you're hiding, you're blocking the very restoration you need. The mask might make you look strong, but it also keeps you isolated. And isolation will trick you into thinking that you're alone in your struggle, that no one will understand, that everyone else is doing fine while you're falling apart behind closed doors. But what if you didn't have to carry that weight anymore? What if the real strength isn't in holding everything together, but in allowing yourself to come undone? Not recklessly, not without care, but intentionally before the God who already sees your heart and loves you still? What if the people who really love you aren't looking for your perfection, but your presence, your realness, your truth, your unfiltered soul? There is a sacred kind of strength that shows up when you let yourself unravel, not to be weak, but to be honest, to give your heart room to breathe, to tell your story, not from a place of having arrived, but from the middle of the mess. Because sometimes it's not about being okay right now. It's about being real right now. And in that space of rawness, you begin to discover that the strength you've been searching for doesn't come from your ability to keep it all together, but from your willingness to fall apart and still believe that God can build something beautiful from your brokenness. You are allowed to be both healing and holy. That truth can be hard to hold when you've been conditioned to believe that you have to choose one or the other. Somewhere along the way, someone convinced you that you had to be perfect before you could be purposeful, that you had to be whole before you could be worthy, that you had to be done with your struggle before you could be used by God. But the reality is, healing and holiness are not opposites. They are partners in the same journey. We carry wounds that we don't talk about. We walk into rooms, sit in pews, and serve others while bleeding inside. And sometimes we think that if we're still struggling, we must be disqualified from being chosen. But the very evidence of your healing journey is proof that holiness is happening inside of you. Not because you have it all figured out, but because you're still showing up, still seeking, still surrendering. Being holy doesn't mean being flawless. It means being set apart. It means choosing to live with intention, even when you're limping. It means turning toward the light, even when you're still walking through the valley. It means allowing God to meet you in your mess, not just your miracle, because the sacred doesn't just show up when you've arrived. It breathes in the broken spaces too. There's a false narrative that tells you you have to clean yourself up before God can use you. But if that were true, the woman at the well wouldn't have been the first evangelist. Peter wouldn't have preached after denying Jesus. Paul wouldn't have written most of the New Testament. The truth is, your healing is part of your testimony. Your holiness is not postponed until after your breakthrough. It is being cultivated in every moment you keep walking through the pain with faith. There's something so powerful about realizing you don't have to wait to be finished to be favored. You don't have to have it all together to be seen, known, and loved. God isn't looking for perfection. He's looking for surrender, for honesty, for a heart that's willing to be molded, even if it's still mending. You can cry out and still be chosen. You can feel lost and still be found. You can be in process and still be prophetic. You are not behind. You are not disqualified. You are not less than, because you are still healing. You are holy because you belong to the one who makes all things new. Even when the process is slow, even when the journey is messy, every scar, every tear, every step you take forward in faith is sacred. It counts. It matters. It's proof that holiness isn't about how well you perform. It's about how deeply you trust. You are healing and you are holy. And those two truths can exist in the same body, in the same breath, in the same beautiful broken, becoming soul. Vulnerability is not weakness. It's divine honesty. It's the courage to be seen without the need to be perfect. It's the moment when you choose to lay down your armor, not because you've given up, but because you've decided to show up fully. We live in a world that trains us to hide our pain, to suppress our fears, to wear the mask of strength while silently collapsing under the weight of unspoken battles. But true strength isn't found in pretending to be okay. It's found in standing in your truth, even when that truth is raw, messy, and unfinished. Being vulnerable doesn't mean you're broken beyond repair. It means you're brave enough to confront the parts of you that are still healing. It means you're no longer afraid of your scars, your wounds, your history. It means you trust that revealing your humanity won't diminish your worth. In fact, it amplifies your connection to others because we don't connect through perfection. We connect through shared struggle, shared story, shared spirit. There's a sacred power that flows through vulnerability. It's not about dumping your pain on the world for sympathy. It's about telling the truth so healing can begin, not just for you, but for the ones who need to know they're not alone. Vulnerability says, I'm not where I want to be, but I'm here. It says, this is who I am, not who I pretend to be. It invites people into the authentic, unfiltered parts of your journey, the ones that haven't yet been wrapped in a bow or edited for public consumption. So many of us are waiting to feel strong before we tell the truth, waiting to feel fearless before we step forward. But the truth is, vulnerability is the first step to real power. It's the moment you decide to stop hiding. It's the moment you release the fear of being misunderstood and step into the freedom of being known. Vulnerability is not weakness. It's wisdom. It's discernment. It's trust in God's ability to cover you even when the world doesn't understand you. We think we have to hide our struggles to protect our image, but the image isn't what saves us. Truth does. The truth is what sets us free. The truth is what allows healing to rush in like a flood. When you stop pretending to be strong, you open the door for real strength to enter. You open the door for grace to do what performance never could. You open the door for real connection, real peace, real growth. Vulnerability is the birthplace of transformation. It's where shame loses its grip. It's where fear takes a back seat. It's where God meets us, not in who we pretend to be, but in who we truly are. Vulnerability isn't your flaw, it's your foundation. And when you learn to stand in it without shame, You begin to walk in a power that no facade could ever give you. God can't heal what you keep hiding. As long as you keep tucking away the pain, covering up the wound, and silencing the story, you're delaying the healing that's been waiting to reach you. We live in a culture that teaches us how to suppress, not surrender. How to mask it with a filter, not face it with faith. But you can't heal what you won't reveal, and you can't be restored if you won't be real. Healing requires exposure. It requires you to bring the broken places out of the dark and into the light. It's not that God doesn't already know what's hurting inside you. He sees it all. The anger you pretend isn't there. The fear you cover with pride. The guilt you've wrapped in silence. The shame you've carried for years. But healing is a partnership. God will never force his way in. He waits for your invitation. And the moment you say, "Here I am, Lord," with all of this is the moment heaven responds with grace, not judgment, not shame, grace. Healing starts when you stop pretending you don't need it. We've been taught to be ashamed of our wounds, taught to keep secrets to protect our image, taught to be strong even if it means staying stuck. But the truth is, whatever you hide has power over you. Whatever you conceal begins to control you. The moment you expose it is the moment you take your power back. It's the moment the enemy loses his grip, because what once lived in darkness now stands in the presence of God's restoring light. Healing doesn't come through avoidance. It comes through acknowledgement. You can't fix what you refuse to face. You can't be delivered from what you keep defending. And I get it. Sometimes the pain is so deep, the trauma so raw, you wonder if speaking it aloud will shatter you completely. But the enemy wants you to think that if you let it out, you'll fall apart. God knows that if you let it out, you'll finally begin to heal. There's a reason the Bible says, confess your faults one to another and pray one for another, that you may be healed. Healing isn't always about having the right words. Sometimes it's just about telling the truth. Sometimes it's as simple as saying, "I'm hurting. I'm tired. I'm still carrying things that happened years ago." When you get honest, healing becomes possible. When you open your heart, God begins to fill the spaces that pain used to occupy. You don't have to broadcast your struggle to the whole world, but you do have to bring it before the one who can redeem it. The longer you hide it, the deeper it festers. But when you bring it into the presence of God, even the most shattered pieces begin to shift. Wholeness isn't reserved for the ones who've never been broken. It's available for the ones brave enough to say, "I'm ready to stop hiding and start healing." Your breaking point can become your breakthrough. It may not feel like it when everything inside of you is unraveling, when the tears won't stop, when the silence is loud, when the ache in your soul becomes too heavy to carry. But there is something holy that happens when you reach the end of yourself, when you've exhausted every mask, every performance, every attempt to hold it all together, and all that's left is your raw, honest, fragile truth. That's the place where transformation begins. Not in the polished version of you, but in the shattered pieces you thought disqualified you. We often view breaking as the end, the collapse of everything we tried so hard to manage. But sometimes God allows the breaking because he knows there's a version of you that can only rise from the ashes, a version that no longer relies on approval, on image, on performance, but on the unshakable truth of who you are beneath it all. The breaking doesn't destroy you. It awakens you. It forces you to confront what's not working. It pushes you to stop pretending. It invites you to finally surrender. Breakdowns feel like failures when you're in them. But look closer, and you'll see that they often come right before a major shift. They're not punishments. They're turning points. They clear the way for healing by tearing down everything that kept you bound. They strip away the noise so you can hear God more clearly. They humble your spirit so that your heart is open enough to receive what pride may have blocked. Your breakdown isn't a detour. It's a doorway. And sometimes the only way to the next chapter is through the one that broke you. God does some of his greatest work in broken places, not because he delights in your pain, but because he sees the strength that can emerge from your surrender. What feels like the end may be the very moment your true life begins. A life where you don't have to pretend. A life where you don't have to carry it all alone. A life where your story, with all its cracks and chaos, becomes the very testimony that sets someone else free. There's beauty in the breaking because it softens the heart, sharpens the vision, and reveals what you were always meant to become. Freedom starts when you choose truth over appearance. For too long, we've been conditioned to perform, to show up in ways that look good but feel false, to smile when we want to cry, to say, I'm fine when we're barely functioning. We've learned how to master the art of seeming okay while silently unraveling inside. But the cost of maintaining the image is too high when it comes at the expense of your authenticity, your peace, your healing. Freedom doesn't come from fitting in or from being impressive. It comes from being honest. There is something powerful that happens when you stop curating your life for others and start living in alignment with your truth. The pressure to impress begins to lift. The fear of being found out loses its grip. You no longer feel trapped by people's expectations or confined to the roles you've outgrown. You begin to breathe differently when you're no longer carrying the weight of pretense. When you choose truth, you start making room for joy that's not performative and peace that's not dependent on circumstances. Sometimes we think if we tell the truth about how we feel, what we've been through, or what we're still struggling with, we'll lose love or respect. But the truth is, what's real is what creates connection. People are not drawn to your perfection. They're drawn to your humanity. Your transparency gives others permission to be honest. 2, when you choose truth, you become a mirror that reflects back freedom to everyone around you. Freedom isn't loud. It doesn't need to shout or prove itself. It's quiet and steady. It shows up in the way you can finally sit with your own heart without judgment. It rises when you can speak your truth without apology. It grows stronger every time you refuse to wear the mask and instead embrace the power of vulnerability. Choosing truth doesn't mean you tell everything to everyone. It means you stop lying to yourself. It means you stop shrinking to stay comfortable or staying silent just to keep peace. When you live from your truth, you begin to realize you were never created to fit into everyone's version of who you should be. You were created to live fully, freely, and honestly. The more truth you speak, the more healing you invite. The more honest you become. The more you attract people who love you as you are, not as you perform to be. You've spent so much of your life trying to hold it together, trying to be what everyone needed, trying to carry the pain in silence, to smile through the heartbreak, to function while feeling empty. But now, right now, is your permission to lay it all down. The masks, the pressure, the weight. You don't have to keep pretending to be okay. You don't have to keep silencing your own needs just to appear strong. Because real strength isn't found in perfection. It's found in your permission to be human. You are allowed to heal at your own pace. You are allowed to cry, to pause, to ask for help, to feel deeply. You are allowed to speak the truth of your experience without shame. You are allowed to fall apart and still be worthy of love, still be called, still be chosen. The God who sees you doesn't need your performance. He wants your heart. He's not asking for your image. He's asking for your honesty. There is freedom waiting for you on the other side of your truth. There is peace waiting when you stop performing. There is healing when you open your heart and say, God, this is me. I'm not okay, but I'm ready to become whole. That's when things shift. That's when the real work begins. That's when you stop surviving and start living. This isn't the end of your story. This is the beginning of your becoming. Not the curated version of you, but the real, raw, radiant version that rises in truth. The one who doesn't have to pretend anymore. The one who is free. Let them see the real you, the healing you, the holy you, the becoming you. Because that version of you, it's already enough.
Thanks for watching. Stay inspired, stay strong, and don't forget to subscribe so we can keep growing together. Your journey matters, and I am here to walk it with you, one step, one story at a time.